Welcome to a new episode of the Sports Mecca podcast. I'm your host, Steven Abramo. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Sam Hengeli. Today, we are joined by Washburn Ichabods men's basketball coach, Brett Ballard. Brett, thank you so much for coming on the podcast this evening.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting a Kansas connection and a Kansas City connection a little bit since both Sam and I are in the Kansas City area. Uh, but we will start for you. You know, you led the Washburn Ichabods to 30 wins this year and then a Final Four appearance in the D2 tournament. Best single season for you as a Washburn coach. Talk to us about the 2025 Ichabods and really what was the big ingredients to the season that you had?
Yeah, it was obviously a special year. Going into the year, we had returned quite a bit, so I felt like we were in a really good place to have a good year. And then everything just kind of came together. When you win that many games, it's probably a combination of things, and it was for us. The talent was there, and the pieces were there. I thought the pieces really fit. We had good positional pieces, and we had talent, which is one of the ingredients you needed to win at that level. We had elite leadership. We just had really good leadership in our locker room, on the court, off the court. Guys that led by example, guys that led vocally, guys that knew how to that weren't afraid of confrontation. And so it was. It was a group that a lot of times as a coach I allowed them to take a lot of the control because we had such good leadership. It was a competitive group, really really competitive. They hated to lose, and that was important when you go through the grind of a college season. You want guys that hate to lose, and then they were really unselfish. We had a lot. When you have a lot of talent, sometimes that's a positive, but there are going to be guys on the bench that may not play as much as they want. And our guys really did a good job of sacrificing for the group and being very unselfish. So, a lot of things came together with this team. We stayed pretty healthy, and that obviously helps. But it was a special group, a special year. And for me, we've been good since I've been here. We've been to five NCAA tournaments out of seven NCAA tournaments since I've been here. And anybody that knows something about Division II basketball, so in D2, there's eight regions. So only eight teams out of our region can make the tournament. And we're in the best region in the country. So if you make that eight, you've really had a good year because it's hard to make our region. It's not necessarily as balanced as the Division I model where they're taking the top 64 teams. We're taking the top eight teams from each region, and we just happen to be in the best region. So we've been to five out of seven. Um, so we had really been in a good place with our program, but it was fun to see us take the next step, and really proud of what these guys got done this year.
Mhm. Are there some big elements of, I mean, something that you might have already touched on, I mean, the unselfishness, but are there some elements that this team showed that you really like to hammer into your guys when you start the season each year?
Yeah, a lot of things with this group. A lot. We had the acronym going into the season. I thought we were going to be good, so I knew we were probably going to be preseason pick number one in our conference. And Washburn has a brand, and Washburn and we'd been good, and so in our conference we were, when people played us, we were a team that people look forward to playing. So we used the acronym HUNT this year. I told our guys I didn't want to be hunted; I wanted to hunt, and then we kind of broke that down. And so we used the H as hungry and humble. I love guys that are hungry, but also win the right way, and keep a humility to ourselves, treat people the right way. I learned that from my parents and the coaches I played for that you can win, but win the right way. So we were hungry and humble. We were unselfish and unified. Uh, no excuses. These guys, we never played victim. We owned our success and we owned our failures. And then together and tough. I'm really big on toughness. I'm a Bill Self guy, and anybody that watches Coach Self knows how important toughness is to him. And even Coach Williams, when I played for him, same mentality. So we wanted to be together. So a tight locker room and a team, but also tough. And so kind of use that acronym. And I thought these guys embodied every one of those pieces to a high level. And again, when you have that level of success, there's a lot of parts to that. It's not one or two things you just put your thumb on. And for us, across the board, they did a lot of really good things.
Hmm. We'll get more into this as the podcast goes on, but you did play under Roy Williams when you were a Kansas Jayhawk. Were there any other coaching philosophies or ways that you saw him approach the game that you now take in your coaching at Washburn?
Yeah, no doubt. I was really fortunate to play for good coaches throughout. I mean, even my youth coaches were good, and my high school coach, Phil Anderson, just retired from coaching recently, and he had a big time impact on me. He was high level coach, very organized, very detailed, and held us to a high standard. And then going to Kansas, so I was lucky because I had a good foundation going into that, but with coach. Again, it's hard to pick. You're kind of picking, he's great at so many things. So can't talk about every one of them, but I've said this often that when I went to Kansas as a walk-on, I was, 14th, 15th guy on the roster, playing with a bunch of McDonald's All-Americans, five-star, four-star guys. But he never treated me like that. He treated me just like I was a McDonald's guy. And not only with just how he interacted with me, but the accountability and the expectations. And I learned a lot from that because I think there was a standard throughout the team that he expected everybody to get to. And then what happens when you can get that many guys to that standard, then everybody gets better. And so just the way coach treated me, the standard he expected was big. I really respect the work ethic that coach had. He showed up every day and every single day he was going to give his best version of himself. And I think, expected that of his players. Style wise, there's a lot that we do that are very similar to coach. Like we like to play fast, and that was influenced by how Coach Williams used to play fast at Carolina and at Kansas. So a lot of things, coaches. I'm very very fortunate he gave me that opportunity, and I would not probably be sitting here if it wasn't for him and that opportunity. So I'm very grateful. But especially how he treated me and the experiences I had were incredible. As a Kansas guy, I grew up a KU fan. I was a Jayhawk fan growing up, and we were diehard Jayhawk fans. So, for me, it was a dream come true to get to play for Kansas, play in Allen Fieldhouse, play in a Final Four, all that stuff. It's still kind of surreal to me that I got that opportunity.
Yeah, so Washburn plays Kansas in the exhibition. You played them this year. Uh, what do you have as now as the Washburn coach, and you go into Allen Fieldhouse as the opposing coach against Bill Self? What do you feel when you have those type of games?
Yeah, it's mixed bag of emotions. It's really incredible experience and you're excited about it. And it's kind of like I said, surreal and it's an awesome opportunity. So, that part of it's really exciting and fun. And then the reality of it is, at that time they're ranked preseason number one, and you're trying to figure out a way to compete against, high level guys in Allen Fieldhouse with 16,000 fans on you. And you're going against a Hall of Fame coach in Bill Self. So there's some stress and um, some things that aren't real fun either. But for our guys, I love it because we've got a ton of Kansas City guys. We've got Wichita, Kansas City, Omaha. is our recruiting hotbed. So we have a lot of KU fans and or at least guys that are very aware of the tradition there. So for those guys, that's a really cool experience, to get to play in that environment in front of those fans in Allen Fieldhouse. So it's we appreciate that opportunity that they give us to do that, and it's fun overall. But it's also really challenging to try to compete when, and listen, I feel very good about where we're at as a D2 program. That's a different level of Division 1. So just the athletic ability of those guys and the skill level, that's a challenging game for us. But our guys did fine. They held their own, and it's always really cool when we get that opportunity.
Right. So some context about your head coaching path. You were an assistant coach under Danny Manning at Tulsa and Wake Forest before you were named Washburn's head coach in the start of the 2017-18 season. Can you take us back to that time when you were competing for the job and you were trying to become the Washburn head coach? And at the time, longtime coach with Ichabods, Bob Chipman, was retiring. So talk to us about what was going on in your mind at the time, and then uh, at that time also in your coaching path.
Yeah. It was crazy how life works out. The year before, I had interviewed at Lindenwood University, which was a Division 2 school. They're Division 1 now in St. Charles, Missouri, right outside of St. Louis. And I'd been at Wake, and I like working for Coach Manning, and we were in the ACC. But I was really ready to be. I'd been a head coach at Baker University for a couple years, and then I went to Tulsa with Danny and Wake Forest. I was really ready to, I felt like, and anxious to be a head coach again. So the year before the Washburn job opened, I interviewed at Lindenwood, got down to the final two, went on campus, and I thought I was going to get the job. I thought the on-campus interview went really well, and I mean, I'm fully prepared mentally to get that job. And they call and they offered it to somebody else, and I was pretty down for a couple of weeks that I didn't get that. But it's funny how life things happen, and sometimes I think that things happen for a reason. And so about 6 months later, Coach Shipman had announced that he was retiring. I believe maybe right at the beginning of the season, uh, prior to his last season. And so as soon as I saw the Washburn job, I'm from Kansas. Knew a lot about Washburn, and this was close to home, and we had family here, and just the tradition here. I was all in, and so you apply, and they had a lot of really good candidates, obviously, for this job, and I got an on-campus interview again, and I felt really good about it, but I had just gone through the trauma the year before, and I'm thinking, man, I don't know if I'll get this job or not. And so when they called, I was ecstatic, and it was just, you know, I feel very, very blessed. This is a big time job. They have great support. We have great fan support. There's tradition here. We're one of 7 Division 2 schools in the country that have won at least 1,700 games. And there's over 300 Division 2 schools. So to be one of 7 that's won that many, you can tell that this place has been good a long time before I was here. It'll be good a long time after I'm here. But it just, for me, I feel very privileged to be the coach here and trying to build off of what Coach Shipman did. He was a really good coach here for a long time, and trying to build off of the foundation that he set.
Yeah. Any conversations you had with Coach Chipman once you got hired on?
Yeah, I mean, we have talked, and he still lives here in town, so he comes to some games occasionally, which we love, and he's been a big part of this program, so it's great when he comes around. We appreciate everything that he's done for the program, and we're just, again, I'm the caretaker right now. I'm just trying to take care of the program while I have it, and then down the line here we'll hand it off to another good coach, hopefully. But coach has been great, and he's great when he comes around.
Mhm. One fun question that I like to ask coaches when we have them on the podcast is if you had the opportunity to coach one former or current professional basketball player, who would it be?
Um, it's a good question. I think former basketball player. I was a big Michael guy. I was a big Kobe guy. Um, so obviously it'd been fun to coach either one of those two. Um, I think I'd say maybe Magic Johnson just because to me Magic was such like a great leader. And I think he would have been a guy where he would have been extension of the coach on the court. Magic was one of those guys that was talented, but he helped a lot of other people really get better. I think that's a sign of a truly elite player is when they can make others around them better. And I feel like Magic would have been a lot of fun, just the energy and the way he played. And I like to play fast. He liked to play fast. So probably Magic.
Coach, it's nice to meet you. One of the things that I got to experience as a kid was the Bob Chipman basketball camps. Did you ever get to work at one when you were a player at Kansas? And do you continue that tradition since Coach Chipman has left college basketball?
Yeah. So yeah, for those that don't know, before NIL, Coach Shipman would hire the KU guys to come and work the camp, and he'd pay really well. And so that was like the primary way that guys could make money in the summer. It was really good money, and you'd put a couple hours in, but you're in the gym with kids, so it was a really fun way to do it. He'd have camps all over. He had it wired. So when I got the job here, we did do some satellite camps, and we were doing that. We had the KU guys, like we've had a ton of KU guys come over to our camp, Udoka and Devontae Graham and all those guys, Christian Brown and Ichabods. I mean, all those guys came through our camps. Um, but what's happened a little bit now is with NIL, that money that I could pay them to come appear to camp really isn't that big of a deal because they're making so much off of NIL that we honestly haven't done it that much the last couple of years, which is fine. We still have really big camps. We have really good camps. I'm really proud of like what we do in our camps. So I always try to make the KU thing like the icing on the cake, not the reason, not the only reason kids came to camp, because I wanted them to come and get better at basketball and have fun and learn something. And I take a lot of pride in how we run our camps and what we do at them. So, when we lost that, obviously that was a great, but it really hasn't impacted us that much. We still have all of our players there working, and these kids look up to our guys as well. So, but it was fun. I only got to work like one or two because he'd always take like, he wanted the big name guys. And I wasn't necessarily a big name guy. So if one of those guys fell through, I was like, hey, coach. And I told him, I said, hey, if anybody falls through, call me at any time, I'll show up. And so I would be kind of the relief pitcher that when somebody, didn't go or couldn't go or whatever, that I'd go. So I got to do a few of them and enjoyed that and obviously getting the money for that was good too. But a few times I did get to work coaches camps.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite childhood memories was going to those camps. And I remember going there my first year I went, like Brandon Rush was there, and then like
Sure.
a freshman, Sharon Collins, Brady Morningstar, Darrell Arthur, got to meet them before they even put on the Kansas uniform. It was also really good too because I couldn't afford to go to the KU camp in Lawrence, so this was like a great alternative and like a
Yeah.
great experience with really good fundamentally and like still get to meet the KU players, but still get to be close to home and got a lot out of those camps. So those were some really good memories.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, for sure. I think those satellite camps sometimes a little more cost effective. And I went to KU. My parents set it up. I went to KU camp one time growing up because it was expensive, and that was pretty cool. But yeah, it was a one time deal because yeah, those they're a little more money. And some of those satellite ones you can and for us, like I would tell anybody listening to this podcast, if you're looking for a good camp, look up our website. We got some pretty good prices on our camp and we do a really good job. Like we're going to help you get better. We're going to have high energy. Our guys do a phenomenal job. So if you're looking for a summer camp, I will plug our camps. Go to woosports.com and go to the camp tab and you can go get on there and see what we got going.
Very cool, very cool. Everybody should do that camp because you'll get I've done it before. I did it with Chipman, and it was a great experience. So hopefully, whoever's listening, sign your kid up for it today. One of the things I want to ask you about was the 01-02 season, which was the year KU went undefeated in Big 12 play, made the Final Four. That was your Final Four season. Talk about what was it like being a part of that team, and what was it like doing something that had never been done before, not just in Kansas basketball, but also in the history of the Big 12 conference. I don't think anybody else has done what the 01-02 team has done since.
Yeah, it was a blast. So going into that year, we were season top 15, probably top 20, and people thought we had a chance to be decent. That was, Drew Gooden, Nick Collison, Kirk Heinrich were going into their junior year. Jeff Boschee was going into senior year, and we that was the year Aaron Miles, Wayne Simeon, Keith Langford got to campus as freshmen. So we actually lost our first game of the year out of Maui to Ball State. And so, you're thinking you're going to be good, and you lose to Ball State out of the gates, and all of a sudden you get humbled pretty quickly. But after that, I think we only lost two or three times the rest of the year, and didn't lose in Big 12 play. That team was, again, I'll compare it to my team a little bit, really talented. So Drew Gooden, third pick in the draft. Kirk Heinrich, seventh pick in the draft. Nick Collison, 13th pick in the draft. Wayne Simeon, 30th pick in the draft. Aaron Miles, all-time leader in assists at KU. Jeff Boschee, all-time leader in three-point shooting at KU. And Keith Langford, top 10 all-time scorer at KU. So like that team had talent. And but that team was also very unselfish, highly competitive guys. I mean, Drew hated to lose, Kirk, Nick, those guys hated to lose, and played unselfish. We scored over 100 a bunch that year. Like that ball would move, we would play fast, and it was a very unselfish team, really fun to play on. Going to undefeated in the Big 12, going undefeated in the Big 12 was amazing. Our last game, so we're 15-0. We go to Missouri last game of the year to go 16-0, and so we're playing in the old Mizzou Arena, Ahern. No, not Ahern. That's in K
The
State.
Hearn Center, is it
Yeah, Hearn
Hearn?
Center. Yeah, and that place, obviously that's a rivalry game, and it was a close game back and forth. I actually got in. I got a scholarship both of those years, and I played some both of those years. So I got in that game, first half and second half a little bit, and we won a close game, and so you get to celebrate in the locker room going undefeated at Missouri. That was awesome, and just a fun team. We end up going on a run, make it to the Final Four, and lose to Maryland that year in the Final Four. Unfortunately, didn't play great, but Maryland had a really good team that year, and they ended up winning it.
What was it like playing against Bill Self when he was coaching at Illinois?
Yeah, well, it was funny because I played against them my junior and senior year. So our junior year, we played them in the Sweet 16 down in San Antonio. They beat us. And in my senior year, we played them in the Sweet 16 again, and it was a tough game. And so, you know, at that time I didn't know coach, obviously, but his teams were always so tough and really physical that they were Big Ten teams up at Illinois, and very, very true to form. They were tough and physical, played kind of a methodical pace at that time, but they had big dudes, and they just made it really hard to score. And so both years, those were tough games. Got us once, and then we got them once, and it's crazy to think, then a couple of years later I was working for him, but coach had always done a good job wherever he was at. And those Illinois teams were good.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go back a little bit to Roy Williams. Obviously, he was successful not just at KU, but also at his alma mater, North Carolina. What were some of the biggest like life lessons you took away from your experience playing for Roy?
Yeah. Just so many things. For me, again, just how he treated everybody, how he treated people on and off the court, the way he conducted his business. He was organized with his practice plans. Coach always had a very organized practice plan, and you went into every practice, and my high school coach was that way too. So I was used to that, but just to see a guy that was very detailed. He got that from Dean Smith, but very organized offensively and defensively. I loved the way he played offensively with a fast-paced attacking style where he gave his team some structure, but a lot of freedom. I think that's a very good way to play offensively. That you want enough structure that guys aren't just taking wild shots, but enough freedom where guys can play to their strengths. And coach was really good at that. Like he would allow his players to play with freedom, but without just completely handcuffing them. And and then again, just coaches always treated me great, giving me that opportunity, putting me on scholarship then, and I playing me. He didn't have to play a walk on like that, but he did play me. So there's a lot of things. Coach was the best and had a heck of a career at Kansas. Coaches. He didn't win a national championship at Kansas, but he did everything else. I mean, he won a ton of Big Eight and Big 12s, and he went to Final Fours and graduated all of his guys and did it the right way. And there's a lot of places he would have a statue out front because, and really, really, because of, you go to multiple Final Fours at most schools and the court's named after you, you got a statue out front. But, Kansas is a little bit different, but certainly I know KU fans now should and have respected what he did there and got some championships at Carolina, which I was happy for him that he's able to win a couple there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And also, what's it like now coaching against your old teammate Jeff Boschee? He's coached at Missouri Southern State and he's coached at Pitt State as well.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing I talked about earlier. It's a little bit, it's kind of fun that we're both, in the same league now and coaching against each other all these years later. And it's good to get to see him and kind of keeps us connected, which I like. But it's also not fun because he's a very good coach and his teams are really hard to beat. And once you get in the mode of competition, then you're not worried about any type of friendships. You're just trying to figure out a way to beat his team. So that part of it, is once you get between those lines, you don't really think about anything else. But his teams are very good at Missouri Southern and Pitt. He does a really, really good job recruiting, and Jeff does a great job, kind of like coach. He has structure, but he gives his guys good freedom, and they're hard to guard because of how he gets them to play offensively.
Yeah, very, very cool. He was definitely, Jeff was at one point the Big 12's all-time leading three-pointers made before AJ Abrams ended up passing
Yeah.
him. So he knows a lot about outside shooting and freedom of movement. I want to talk a little bit about, move on to a little bit, want to learn about your recruiting philosophy. You want to learn what do you look for when you look into high school recruits and when you're trying to build your culture going forward. You obviously have built a good culture right now, but how to keep that momentum going. So what do you look for when you're on the recruiting trail?
Yeah, well, and I mentioned we really work hard to build from the ground up. Division two is a little bit different than Division one. Division one's really gone transfer portal heavy and kind of out of necessity. We're still able a little bit more to build from the ground up. So we really try to invest in high school guys and recruit the best high school guys in this area. I am really, really proud of what we've been able to get done in recruiting and especially in Kansas City. That has been our wheelhouse. We have had a lot of really good players from Kansas City that we've recruited over here and have helped us win a ton of games. I think there's good basketball there, good high school coaches there, and good AAU programs there. And so it's been and it's location wise, we're 50 minutes an hour from Kansas City. So it's a good location for us to recruit to because those guys know Topeka and Washburn, and they're close enough to get here. The families are close enough to get here. So, Kansas City has been big, Wichita's been big, and now the last couple of years we've really gotten up into Omaha too. So that's our primary recruiting targets, and we're looking at those guys primarily. The first thing that we look is just the talent. I mean, that's what we see first and foremost. We go watch a young man play, and what is your skill set? And there's not necessarily one specific thing I'm looking for because that may depend on your position. But I do look at how talented they are first and foremost because we do need that. Um, I'm really big on competing, so I like to see like how hard do guys play, and so I'll try to go watch guys multiple times because I want to see, for example, we'll go to AAU tournaments. And they may play really hard in that Friday night game, but I want to see how they play on that Sunday afternoon game after they played 3 or 4 games and their bodies are a little worn down. And maybe the weekend didn't go that well and they're playing in a losers bracket game on Sunday. Like I want to see, can guys push through that and compete in those moments because the bottom line is the college basketball season is really long. Like once we get here in August, we really don't stop. So, by the time you get to February, if you're not competitive, it gets really hard. So I like guys that are competitive and play hard. Um, I like guys that are coachable. I like to see like how do they receive coaching? Are they looking the coach in the eye and do 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 they accept coaching? Do they want to learn? That's a big thing for me. And then, how are they with their teammates too? I really like guys that seem, that's why I said I think I'd like to coach Magic Johnson because he was talented, but it seemed like his teammates loved playing with him. And so I like to see how they interact with their teammates as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What when you use the transfer portal, do you like ever use it to like fill in a spot, or like do you like try to not use it at all? What's like kind of the philosophy when it comes to the portal?
Yeah, that's a great question. For us, it's been more to fill gaps. Like last year, we took one transfer. This year, we have one committed. We'll take two more. So we're not fortunately, taking 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like some schools do, or sometimes you just, unfortunately, you have to. Like, you look at Baylor right now. Scott Drew's a good coach. Scott Drew is a fair coach. Scott Drew has had a winning program. I think Scott Drew treats his players really well, from what I can tell. He lost his entire roster. So it's a little bit of the nature of the beast. Fortunately, again, at our level, Division two, we don't quite have as much of that, but it can happen. So for us, we've been a little bit fortunate, but I do think some of it is how we treat our guys and the way we do things here. That some of it. Again, there's still coaches that do a great job of that and still lose everybody. So I don't want to make it sound like we've got it all figured out. But right now we're using it to fill some gaps, but still really again want to build from the ground up. And we've got a lot of homegrown guys in our program that I feel really good about that are, fresh sophomore, junior. Some of them going to be seniors next year that have been with us that are going to be a big part of what we do and key contributors.
Right. I want to talk about next. I want to talk about Coach Ben McCollum. You got to face him the past few years. Now he's at the Division 1 level. He coached at Drake, led him to an NCAA tournament win against Mizzou, which we all probably enjoyed watching. And
Mhm.
then now he's at Iowa. Now talk about what makes Ben McCollum such a great coach and how he was so dominant during that time in MIAA as you were game planning against him and had to go up against him.
Yeah, I just text coach today about something, and it's. I'm glad I don't. I'm glad he's not in our conference anymore. I did not enjoy trying to figure out how to beat him, and he made me a lot better coach because he was doing things at such a high level that I needed to keep getting better to try to keep up with him. There's a lot of things again that make him a great coach. I think his teams are really, really hard to score against. I mean, he maybe doesn't get enough credit for how good defensively they are year in and year out. They do a great job um, disrupting you, guarding without fouling. They're elite at guarding without fouling, but being physical. They're still physical, but they don't foul, and they just really make you earn every basket. And then offensively, especially these last few years and lately, he just plays at such a pace that they grind you down with the pace a little bit. The spacing is elite, and then they do a good job attacking out of that. And he gets his players to play so hard that they compete. He hates losing. You can tell he's very he motivates those guys at a very high level. So a lot of things with coach. Not surprised that he was able to have the success at Division 1 level that he's had. Maybe made the jump to the next job quicker than I even thought, just because you never know how those things are going to play out. But really cool opportunity for him. And, I think it's good in some ways for Division 2 coaches because I think we got a lot of really good coaches at this level. And I think it makes people maybe hopefully respect a little bit about what's going on here and the level of coaching at certain places.
Yeah, especially being a student at Emporia State, I got to watch a lot of MIAA basketball, and if you can win 30 games in the being an MIAA school, you can win at, I think, any level. I think basketball is basketball, coaching is coaching. The way your philosophy can succeed whether you go to the Division 1 level, Division 2 level, or even the professional level. If you just have the right, the right players, you have the right culture, you can be successful at any level. I believe that.
Agree, Sam. I think you should be my agent.
Yeah.
I need you to be my agent. Although I'm not looking to leave Washburn, but maybe you could give me a raise here. So I'm gonna have you give that spiel to the people here. No, I'm with you, man. I think there's a lot of good listen, we recruit Kansas City High School because there's a lot of great coaches at that level that could be really good college coaches if they wanted to be. So, every level there's good coaches, but the MIAA we feel like is one of the best, if not the best, Division 2 conferences in the country, and the coaching is really good.
Yeah, and I'm interested too seeing our old coach at Emporia, Craig Doty. He's at Houston Christian now. Took over that program. I'm excited to see how he does. I thought he did a really great job at Emporia State, especially when he had to take over there. And
He did. He did. I'm not going to talk good about Emporia State, but he definitely. No, he did. Coach, I just saw Coach at the Final Four a couple weeks ago. Caught up with him a little bit, and he's a very good coach, and I would imagine he'll do well there. That's he knows that that's a tough job down there, resource wise. So he's got some obstacles to overcome a little bit there. But if there's a guy that can do that, I'm sure Coach will get it figured out.
no doubt about that. What's been your favorite part about coaching at Washburn University?
I'd say probably without question my players and just the people that we're able to recruit here. Not only how they play basketball, but just the people they are off the court, and they're going to be winners in life. And so being a part of that journey and getting to have, hopefully a small impact on them, but then also just being able to follow them and see what they're going to do beyond this place makes me really proud. Um, I think the support we get here, not only from an administrative and financial and resources standpoint, but also from our fans, is great. We led Division 2 in attendance this year, not only total attendance, but average attendance per game. So the way our community has supported us, that part of it makes it really special. And then again, for me, just being from Kansas and knowing the tradition here, that part of it makes me really proud that I'm able to be a part of something like that.
Yeah. Very cool, very cool. My last question to you is, what advice would you give to those wanting to get into the coaching profession? What would be the words of wisdom, like how somebody would get started? And based on your journey, what advice would you give those who are aspiring to maybe coach, whether it's basketball or any other sport, whether it's at the college, pro, or even high school level?
Yeah, great question. I get that quite a bit, and I would say first and foremost, wherever you start, make the big time where you're at. I use that term a lot. Make the big time where you are. Make the big time where you're at. However you want to say that. So whatever team you get the opportunity to coach, that's a special opportunity. And I don't care if it's third grade boys, seventh grade girls, high school, junior college, and yeah, if you get an opportunity to coach uh, at any level, to me, that's a special opportunity to give back and to make an impact. And so I think what happens sometimes is people get so enamored about being at a certain level that they try to shortcut the process. And I was fortunate. If Here's the reality of it is, for most college coaches, they played in college, right, wrong, whatever. I'm not saying that makes us better coaches, but that's just kind of the way the system works. So if you didn't play in college, you have a harder path. There's no to being a coach. There's no question about it. Doesn't mean there's a lot of really really good coaches that didn't play in college, but it just means that sometimes that path's going to be a little more challenging. Um, I think we need right now in our society, we need really good teachers and we need really good high school coaches. So I always encourage people that think they might want to coach to consider getting their teaching degree, going into education and starting off at that level. And then, if things transpire and they want to make the jump to college, than potentially trying to do that. But I really think we need good high school and teachers and high school coaches. And so I just wherever you get your foot in the door, take advantage of that. Do that job, whatever that first coaching job is, do that to the best of your ability. Pour into those kids. Give your time, energy, and effort to those kids like you're coaching at Duke or like you're coaching at Washburn or like you're coaching at the Lakers. But and you just have that mentality. And then, when you do that, the kids are going to get better. You're going to enjoy it. Whoever you're working for will probably see and appreciate that. And that's a way to keep advancing when they see, how committed you are and that they can trust your work ethic and that you want to get better at it. So yeah, it's a great way to I'm very the purpose and the impact I have, I'm very thankful for. But we do need good coaches out there. So hopefully, more and more people want to keep jumping into the profession.
Yeah, love that answer. I felt a lot of energy. I felt like a lot of excitement. I'm fired up now just hearing that advice.
For sure.
Brett, I got two final questions for you. First one, did you know what an Ichabod was when you were growing up?
No, no, we get that. It's funny because we have some recruits coming in here lately, and a lot of them aren't from the area. And even if you are from the area, I don't know that a lot of people know that. So we always quiz them, and most of them don't have a clue. So, we got to tell them what an Ichabod is. And for those that don't know, the school's named after a guy named Ichabod Washburn was the guy's name, and he gave a good sum of money to the school. He was a philanthropist and gave a good sum of money to the school back in the 1800s, and they ended up naming the school after him, Washburn. Well, the Ichabod kind of represents what he stood for, which was, hardworking and treated people of all ethnicities and male and female. They accepted to the college and just kind of what he embodied. So that's what an Ichabod is, which I did not know. It's a very unique mascot, that's for sure. We get called a lot of different things. People mispronounce it or they think it's something completely different. So it's definitely unique.
Yeah. My final question is, has anybody come up to you and asked that you look like Steve Nash?
Oh yeah, I get that all the time. Yeah, I get that a lot. I get that a lot. People say, "Has anybody?" And as soon as they say that, I already know what they're going to say. So yeah, I get that a lot, especially at AAU events.
Do you play along with it?
I mean, I just, acknowledge, yeah, people have told me that before. Sometimes I say I wish I could play like Steve Nash because I probably have a lot more money in my pockets right now. But my wife doesn't like it. She thinks I'm a lot better looking than Steve Nash, which I would tend to agree with her. But no, I see some of the resemblance and same, like we're exactly the same height. I met him one time, and we do have some same characteristic facial features and stuff. So I get it and get that quite a bit.
Okay.
Well,
Um, well, Brett, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We do a lot of interviews with coaches in the Kansas City area at the high school level, and we've had a couple of coaches at the college level that haven't been from the KC area. So this is, or in the Kansas area. So this is a great honor to actually get a college from the roots of where Sam and I live.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. Thanks for you guys bringing attention to the Kansas City basketball, scene and giving those coaches an opportunity. There's a lot of good high school coaches in the area, so appreciate you guys putting us out there, and let me come on and talk a little bit about Washburn basketball.
Yeah, absolutely.
awesome.
Um, we have Instagram, Twitter accounts at the Sports Mecca, and then YouTube, the Sports Mecca podcast, as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So when this goes up this upcoming week, we'll tag you and
I mean, I'll put you out there, man. You guys are official. You guys are all over the place, so
Uh,
you're gonna get my followers up. You're gonna bring more attention to my program, which I like. That's free recruitment, free advertisement. So I appreciate you guys.
no
yeah.
problem. Thank you for coming on, Coach.
Thank you guys. Yep. You guys have a good night.